language you had at the time you started imagining. That language was honest and limited. It used the vocabulary of the version of your life that was being lived back then. What is arriving now speaks a more recent language, the language of the life you are living now, and that language has more dimensions than the older one had room for. So even if you had kept rehearsing the picture, it would have arrived as something different than you rehearsed. You are not behind for having lost the picture. That picture had already become outdated before you set it down. What you can keep in place of the picture is the willingness to recognize the thing when it arrives in its actual shape. Recognition is a different practice than expectation. Expectation requires you to know the form of the thing in advance. Recognition only requires you to be honest in the moment of encounter. You can be terrible at expectation and still be excellent at recognition, and recognition is the muscle that matters now. Practice it on small things, an unexpected gentleness in a stranger's voice, an afternoon that turned out lighter than the morning predicted, a phrase someone said to you that landed deeper than the speaker meant it to. These small recognitions are training. They are teaching the muscle that will be needed when the larger thing arrives. Close your eyes for a moment if you can. Let the ordinary noise of where you are dim a little. Notice the shape of the room you are in, even with your eyes closed. Notice that you are sitting or standing or lying down somewhere specific, and that this somewhere specific has been chosen again and again as the place where messages like this one find you. There is something very ordinary about how the holy moves. It does not always require a mountaintop. Most of the time, it requires a chair, a moment of stillness, and a willingness to listen for one sentence longer than you intended to. If these words are landing in you, leave the word yes in the comments. Not for anyone watching, for your own ears. So you have to actually agree with this in writing, in front of yourself, so that later, when the wait gets long again and the doubt comes back, you can scroll back and find the moment you said yes when you did not yet have proof. That kind of yes is its own form of evidence. What is gathering is not only for you, it will pass through you. It will reach the people inside your house first, the ones who have been close enough to feel the texture of your waiting whether you spoke about it or not. Then it will reach further. It will touch the people who have been standing at the edge of your life, wondering whether anything good ever lands there. It will touch them through your face, your tone, the particular softness that arrives in a person who has just received something they had stopped expecting. You will not have to announce it. They will see it in you. They will see it the way one sees a season changing on someone else's tree before the same change reaches one's own. There is something counterintuitive happening here, and you should hear it clearly. That very thing that felt like the long delay was the thing protecting the size of what was coming. Had this blessing arrived 2 years ago, it would have arrived to a version of you who could not have held it, a version of you who would have spent it badly, defended it poorly, lost it to people who did not love you well, or shrunk it down to fit a heart that had not yet stretched. You did not know you were stretching during those years. You thought you were just enduring. Stretching was the work. What arrives now is the right shape for the size of the heart you now have. That is not an accident. That is the architecture of grace. You can be honest now about how much that stretching cost you. There were nights you should have been believed and were not. There were rooms you should not have walked out of alone and did. There were conversations you needed someone to start with you and no one started them. That cost is real. That cost is not erased by the arrival of the blessing, but the cost has been counted on a ledger you do not keep, and the entries are not lost. Every difficult thing you carried with dignity is recorded, not because heaven is petty about debts, but because nothing of what you have lived is being thrown away. Even the parts you would have edited out, if you had been the editor, are being woven into something that needed exactly those threads. You may not love the threads. You can still trust the weaving. Hear it again. What is coming has already been released. Say it once, even quietly to yourself, not because the words have power, but because the agreement has power. Agreement is the doorway. Agreement says, I am willing to be a person who receives. I am willing to lay down the protective neutrality that has kept me upright through the weight. I am willing to feel something I have not let myself feel for a long time. I am willing to be surprised again, even though being surprised is how I got hurt before. Willingness is small. It does not have to be dramatic. It just has to be honest. A voice older than your fear is speaking now, and you can almost catch the shape of what it is saying. It is saying, the things you stopped praying for were not lost. They were rerouted. Relationships you released because you ran out of strength to repair them are being held in a different way. Some will return, some will not, and the difference is not your failure. Doors you knocked on for years and never saw open were being kept closed for your protection. The right doors do not require you to bruise your hand. Years that felt wasted were not wasted. They were the soil. Every difficult thing that did not become the thing you feared it would become was a quiet act of intervention you did not see at the time. You have been more accompanied than you knew. Even in the rooms where you were most alone, even in the nights where the silence felt like an answer, even in the moments where you spoke the difficult truth into your own ear and there was no one there to confirm it, you were not unobserved. Accompaniment did not always announce itself because announcement is not always how presence works. Presence is often steadier than announcement. Presence is the thing that stays in the room with you, breathing at your pace, not interrupting the grief, not rushing the fear, not trying to talk you out of what you needed to feel. That is what has been with you. That is what is moving now. You can think back, if you want to a particular night that nearly broke you. There is one. You know which one it is. You did not know that night that you would still be here. You did not know you would be a person who could read a sentence like this one and recognize yourself in it. You made it through that night. That is not nothing. That is the central evidence of your life. Whatever you think about your faith, whatever you think about how worthy you are of what is coming, the fact remains that something carried you across the floor of that night, and it was not only you, and it was not nothing. That same something is carrying you now. It has not changed. It has only changed where it is carrying you to. Accompaniment also knew when to step back. There were moments you needed to do a thing alone, not because you were abandoned, but because the thing required your individual signature. A signature cannot be co-signed. A decision had to be yours. A choice had to be yours. Accompaniment honored that by being silent at exactly the moments you most wanted it to speak. You read the silence as absence. It was not absence. It was the dignity of being treated as someone whose decisions matter. You have been treated, the whole time, as someone whose decisions matter. What is coming is also a response to decisions you made when you could have made other ones. Whisper this back, just once. I am ready to receive what has already been released. You do not have to feel ready. You do not have to be ready. You only have to whisper the sentence that lets your readiness begin. Some kinds of readiness are the result of a decision made in advance of feeling. Most of the important readinesses in your life have been like that. Marriage, forgiveness, choosing to begin again after something broke. You did not feel ready for any of those, and you stepped into them anyway, and the readiness arrived after the stepping. The blessing is plural. That is something you should know. It is not a single object to be placed in your hands and then ended. It is a sequence. A first thing that softens the soil. A second thing that surprises you in a register you did not know you were listening for. A third thing that arrives through a person you would not have expected. A fourth thing that looks small at first and turns out to be the foundation of something you will spend years grateful for. The first thing may already be in your room. You may have walked past it because you were looking for the dramatic version. Look again. The smaller signs are usually the early ones. You have